Hi, I'm Bryce Crittenden.
Hi, I'm Caroline Land, and welcome back to EPL's Overdue Finds.
Hey, Caroline, how's it going today?
It's going really well. It's a beautiful day, sunshiny but not too hot, which is important for me, even in the summer.
Yeah, me too. I was joking around with somebody the other week where it's like as I get older, I'm like less tolerant of the hot weather.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I don't have AC in my home, so the plus 30 stuff that we had last summer was god awful.
it
Like
was.
I wanted to just like escape and go. Like I would have welcomed a blizzard at that point.
I don't know if you remember the old Popsicle Pete commercials that used to run in like the 90s, but 80s and 90s. But at the beginning, when everyone is like so hot and just desperate for some kind of relief, and then Popsicle Pete comes like swooping in and distributing popsicles. I mean, if that happened, I might be okay with hotter days. But since I've never had that happen, I'm okay with it being a bit cooler.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So it's funny, like we're in the summer obviously, and we've just passed that like halfway point of the year. And it's funny because Caroline, on the last few episodes, we've kind of brought this up like just randomly on some of the titles that we've been recommending. And we've been like, oh, if there's a good chance I'm talking about this again at the end of the year or this book at the end of the year. So today we kind of thought that we would just kind of talk about
Yeah.
like what are our favorite titles of the year so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, so today we're just like, we're going to kind of go over all of that stuff, like our favorites books and movies, TV shows, video games, music. It'll be interesting to see, though, how many of these titles actually stick around, though, when we do our best of the year episode in December.
When we do our best of the year, I often try to find titles I haven't yet talked about on the podcast, which is
Hmm.
hard because, you and we have overdue finds every time we're on here. And I know that I keep a list. I know you've got kind of a running, uh, like little pot of ideas that you can pull from. But I don't know. Now that we're doing this kind of mid-year and the end of the year, it'll be interesting to see how many new and different titles I can come up with that legitimately meet the criteria of what I've really enjoyed this year.
Absolutely. It just means we're going to have to like watch and read more
Yeah.
before the end of the year. So we're not duplicating our picks in December, I think.
Yeah, I think we're up to it. I
Yeah,
think that's the
definitely.
commitment we bring to this show.
Yeah, it's our job. We have to do it. It's for the listeners.
Yeah,
That's what we'll tell ourselves. And it's
absolutely.
funny because today it's just me and you on the show.
It's
No
just us.
guests. Yeah,
Just us.
yeah. And yeah, I don't even remember the last time it was just me and you on the show. Actually, you know what? I think it was our political thrillers
Oh
episode.
yeah, where like we tried to uncover the conspiracy of why no one wanted to come on the show with us.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
now.
but that's okay. So let's just get right into it. We're gonna skip our overdue finds segment today, just because, like, really, this whole episode is an overdue finds segment. So yeah, as we kind of go over what our favorite titles are so far this year. But before we do that,
Yes,
Caroline, I've got a
yes,
question for you.
I'm ready.
Why should kids get to have all the fun with their summer reading club?
I don't think they should. I don't agree.
Well, good news, because there's now a summer reading club for adults. So, from currently right now until August 27th, both adults and teens can sign up for Summer Reads 22. Keep track of your reading this summer and complete some fun activities to have your name entered to win some great prizes, including gift cards to Edmonton businesses and a signed copy of Mindhunter by John Douglas or The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton, both past guests on Overdue Finds. So you can sign up at epl.ca/summer-reads or stop in at any EPL branch and pick up your Summer Reads activity sheet.
Absolutely. And we want just to plug that any kind of reading is reading. So if you are going on a road trip and maybe have some audiobooks, count that towards your reading hours. Magazines, web articles. I'm now from like 1999.
This fancy web
Yeah,
thing.
transmissions.
Yeah.
It all counts. It all counts. Fiction, nonfiction, magazines, everything. So if you're
Graphic novels,
reading
comic books.
kids books, if you're reading with your kids, it can count for you, it can count for them, the whole family wins.
And we've mentioned this before, but if you're looking for activities to complete, right now you can cross one off your list because one of the activities is listening to an episode of our podcast, Overdue Finds. So
Yeah,
there you go. You only have to
congratulations.
complete two. You're
Yeah.
halfway there already. So, Caroline, let's get right into today's topic, talking about the best of the year so far. And let's just jump right in with books. I know you've recommended some great books so far this year, but do you have a favorite book that you've read so far this year?
Yes, and I know I just said that I try to pick ones that I haven't talked about. This one I did talk about, but I just love it so much. It's Mina by Matthew Forsyth. So this is a picture book for maybe older younger kids, I guess, preschool aged and early elementary. And it's the story of a tiny little mouse whose father loves to go on adventures and bring things home with him. And one day he brings home a quote unquote squirrel, which looks suspiciously like a cat. And so Mina is not quite sure what to think about this. And the illustrations in this are beautiful. They're so swirly and gorgeous and colorful. The palette involved is just awesome. I highly recommend all of Matthew Forsyth's work, but particularly Mina, which came out in February of this year.
Yeah, you've always, it's one thing that's really been fun with recording with you, having you as a co-host on the show, is you always have these great picture book recommendations. And it's something I've said this before, like I don't have any kids, so I don't really have many picture books. Well, I don't have any picture books in my home at all, but it is good to kind of hear about some of these titles, and it's something that you don't necessarily have to have kids, or even if you do have kids, this is stuff that you can enjoy yourself while you read to them, right?
Absolutely. When I started at EPL, one of my first jobs here was as a literacy librarian, working with early literacy and developing some of our great programs and working on collections and book lists and uh, talking with people about the great stuff that we have in our collection for kids. A lot of people think, oh, if you, kids, they're too young to read, so it doesn't really matter if I read or not. But it's such a huge, important piece of their literacy foundation to be exposed to books, to have fun with them. A book like Mina, I love because there's always something going on in the illustrations. And sometimes, even this, that playing with the idea of like saying her dad is bringing home a squirrel and it's a picture of what is clearly a cat, so then if a child is reading this, or a librarian in her mid to late 30s, you're playing with that, what the text is telling you and what you're picking up from the pictures. And when that's playing with each other, there's a lot of fun to have by looking at the art of illustration and how that's being used to push the story forward. So I love it. It's one of my favorite things about working in a branch. I can just kind of saunter out and take a look at the children's book collection and flip through some new releases, some older titles, and yeah, shout out past guest Ilona Story, who was on earlier this year. She works in the collection acquisition department, and she is the one who makes sure that EPL has the awesome children's collection that we do.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what have you been enjoying, Bryce?
It's funny because I've joked around about this on the show. I'm a slow reader, so I don't get through nearly as many books in a year as I like to. And like it's funny because I'm reading one right now that came out in 2019. I'll be talking about probably on our next episode because I'm absolutely hooked on it. And then another book I read too, like came out like late last year. So, but I did remember I did actually read a book that was released in 2022, and it was going to be a future overdue find pick of mine. And yeah, I'm going to talk about it here today. And that's called Food IQ 100 Questions, Answers, and Recipes to Raise Your Cooking Smarts by Daniel Hosman and Matt Rodbard. So, Caroline, one of our most downloaded episodes so far this year was our kitchen preview episode, where we got a kind of we got a look inside, our new kitchen space at the Stanley Milner Library. And so it's funny because, cooking's been on the brain a lot lately. And I think, too, even kind of getting through the pandemic with being home a lot more and definitely cooking a lot more. It's kind of made me think about kind of the way that I prepare dinners and some of the stuff that I cook. And what I like about this book is this is a great book for people like me who are somewhat like, I find I'm competent in the kitchen, but I still have questions about things like kind of like I don't like things that I feel like I should know, but I don't. So,
Right.
simple stuff like which potato to use. Can I cook with frozen seafood? Which color onion should I be using in this dish? So this book is great because they do a great job of kind of answering these very kind of common questions, and then they give kind of some very easy to follow recipes that kind of answer and kind of help answer those questions. So this is a new book. I think it just came out like a few months ago, actually, and I just recently borrowed the ebook version. And yeah, it's a book that I've actually very considered purchasing just so I permanently have a copy.
Yeah, I'm not a very adventurous cook. I use a microwave a lot. So I definitely could see using something like this as support to maybe get me confident enough to that next level.
Well, yeah, it's pretty good. I think you'd actually really enjoy it. And it's funny because I went grocery shopping yesterday. Just little things too. It's like, oh, I got to get an onion. Um, Now these onions aren't looking great, but these yellow onions are. It's like, would that still be okay in this? Or like even potatoes. It's like, what? There's roasting potatoes and other potatoes. So yeah, it's a good one and very informative.
Yeah, well, I'll have to check that out. This is the problem with these episodes. I always get so many titles. Maybe that'll be on my best of the year list by the end of the year. A few ones that I'm looking forward to. I actually have checked out right now. Ruth Ware, who I've talked about on the past, she writes kind of twisty thrillers. She has a new book, The It Girl. Christina Lauren has one called Something Wilder, which, I mean, if you were trying to conjure up a summer beachy read, just like paint a picture of what that would look like, that would be Something Wilder. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm still working away on Hearts on Fire, 6 years that changed Canadian music. It is just a very long, dense, thorough book, but I'm enjoying it. So, um,
Nice.
yeah, looking forward to that. Um, we've both joked in the past that when it comes to music, we don't always have the most cutting edge music picks. Honestly, I think if we were doing like a list of, what is your favorite music of so far of 1982, we might have maybe some more titles that we could dip into.
That would
But
be a great episode.
yeah, the best of the year so far, but not this year, just a
Yeah,
random year. Kind of like,
1982.
yeah. So we don't have the most cutting edge music picks. That's okay. I think we're both comfortable with who we are when it comes to that and open to new ideas. But um, what's been your favorite song or album so far this year?
Yeah, so I've mentioned this before, but I'm always on the lookout for new rock albums. So when I heard that the Black Keys were releasing a new album this year, I was so excited. And I'm happy to report that their new album called Dropout Boogie is just as good as I was hoping it was going to be. So this album came out, I want to say, I think it was in the spring anyway. But a lot of people, they probably might have heard their first single off that album called Wild Child. It's a great rock song. If you can, go check out the video on YouTube. It's hilarious. It shows both members of the band working at a high school. The one is a custodian, and the other is a cafeteria worker, and they're dealing with just horrible teenagers. And but yeah, their music, I'm a big Black Keys fan. Their music is this great combination of rock and blues, and it's just it's a fun listen. So if you're doing some driving this summer, throw this album on. It'll help kind of make that trip go a little bit faster anyway.
Nice. Do you find that you have like this real sense of like satisfaction when you have another solid rock blues album that you're like, oh yes, this is it. This is me.
Oh, big time, yeah. Because like it's funny because if you look at the top of the music charts right now, there's zero rock at all. It's mostly R&B or hip hop or pop or whatever. It's just not a popular genre. So as somebody who's a big fan of classic rock and just rock in general, yeah, I'm always looking for new music to add. I mean, I can only listen to so much Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers before it starts to get old a little bit. So I'm always so happy when I see new albums being released by certain artists. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers released a new album this year. Yeah, I thought it was okay, but definitely the Black Keys album is so far my favorite. Caroline, how about you? What music have you been enjoying this year?
I'm gonna take you to the top of those charts, Bryce. It's Lizzo and Harry Styles.
Mm.
I am not hip. I am not with it. It takes me a long time. I'm not. I don't want to admit how little I understand TikTok. Although I guess I did on our TikTok episode.
Hmm.
But like I am it's the kind of thing where I'll like be on the internet, I'll be, Twitter or Instagram or something, and I'll see these videos people are doing, and I'll be like, oh, that's a catchy song. And then eventually I'll put together what it is. It took me like a good 2 months to figure out what Harry Styles, I would see the reference to As It Was, and then I would hear this song on Twitter videos, and then I was like, oh, that's what that is. I like that. So I think I like it because it sounds older with like musical throwbacks, very kind of 80s ish, synth ish music happening. Lizzo, I just really enjoy. About damn time. I'm not doing any dance to it, but I'm just enjoying the energy, the flow, the lyrics, and yeah. So that's where I've been. I've also been enjoying. This was a pick of mine from a couple years ago. The musical Six, about the six ex-wives of Henry VIII. It was a musical that was playing here in Edmonton and then was headed to Broadway, and they were about to have their opening night in March 2020, and then everything happened and they were delayed due to the pandemic, but they finally were able to open earlier this year. They released an opening night cast recording of the music of Six, which has been wonderful. I up until now, I've been listening to the British cast recording, which is great, but not the Queens that I heard here in Edmonton. So being able to revisit it with an ear towards these additional Queens has been wonderful. The music is so catchy, done in different pop stylings through that tell the stories of the six wives of Henry VIII and how history has portrayed them and the things we might not know about them. So really enjoying that. And yeah, looking forward to now that I've shared all of my picks, I'm looking forward to maybe I'm gonna have to like I don't know, be paying more attention to Instagram Reels or something to find out what other songs I like.
For sure. I still find it so cool with that show that like it, they were they were previewing it here in Edmonton. Like I still think that was such a cool story anyway, but hopefully we get kind of more of those here in the future. And I think it's kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes, like myself. Like I'm not a big theater person, but yeah, it kind of makes you pay a little bit more attention to some of the stuff that's coming here. And I think a lot of times, here in Edmonton, we're just like, we're Edmonton. Like, what would they be doing here? Or, what could we get here? And we get some pretty good stuff here. So we have to take advantage of it when it is here anyway.
We get some pretty good stuff and we have some pretty great stuff.
Caroline, I always love talking about this, but how's it going with Best Fiends? Or have you had a chance to play any other games this year?
Well, thank you for asking, Bryce. I had to check because when I get so into Best Fiends, I don't even really pay attention to what level I'm on because I'm just so focused on whatever my goals are for the level. But as of yesterday, I'm at level 3611, which is great.
Wow.
Really enjoying it. They keep it fun, they keep it interesting. Again, not a sponsor of this podcast,
They
though
sponsor
they
every
do
other
many
podcast,
others.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so, I just want to get in on the fun, but I enjoy it. It's good. It's like they have different mini tournaments or games to keep you motivated to and it works on me. It works. Whatever research they've done for how to maximize like participation, it's me, but that's okay. And then yeah, I do have another game and I was so excited again to have this for the year end but we'll have it for year middle. I really got into Wordle this year. I know
Yes.
that I'm not alone. The internet was full of people doing this word game, particularly at the beginning of the year, sharing their progress, how many um, uh, picks it took them to guess a specific five-letter word. I love word games. I love puzzles. So this was right up my alley. I'm still playing. I'm not sure how many people are, but I think I'm up to 190 something games,
Wow.
and I have a pretty good record. I'm on a bit of a streak right now, so hopefully I'll be able to keep that up and keep puzzling my way through the alphabet.
So, a couple questions for you regarding Wordle.
Yeah,
Do you have a common word that you always start with, and what is it? If you don't mind sharing.
Usually start. Yes. Yes, I usually
It's okay if you
start
don't want to
with
share it.
no, it's okay. Because I think it's important to talk about these things to really gain strategy and think about, letter combinations. I usually go with STEAM. STEAM because you've got two vowels. You've got S and T are usually fairly common, and if none of them are in there, you still have a good um, list of the blended letters to go again the next time. So like the L, the R, the P. So
That's pretty good strategy. I like that.
yeah.
And what would you say is like your winning percentage Like if you had to just guess, like are you fairly good with like do you have a like an above 500 winning percentage, do you think?
I know because they show you your statistics
Okay.
after every game, and my win rate is 99%.
Whoa.
Yes.
Nice. Good for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm
It's
not
good.
very
There've been a
good at
couple
word
close
games.
calls.
Yeah.
There's been like, I mean, obviously it's not 100, so there have been one or two I haven't gotten. And there have been some more close calls on top of that, when you get the words that have like really common endings and you're trying to
Mhm.
guess, does this start with a B? Does this start with an N? Where am I going with this? But
Yeah.
those are just luck. Those ones, the strategy is not necessarily the same. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Um, have you heard of this? Is also kind of a daily free online game for everybody. It's not a word game, but it's called Framed. Have you played that?
No. What's
Framed is pretty
framed?
fun. Like it would be like the official game of Overdue Finds, I think. So
Okay.
what it is you go to Framed and it'll show you a still from a movie, and you have 5 guesses to try and figure out what the movie is. It's super fun.
I will be going there immediately after this recording. I almost brought it up while you were talking and was like, "No, Caroline, you're a professional." So I will be going immediately after this. I like it. I've played a lot of like the ones that kind of sprouted up around Wordle. Hurdle is one, Hear, and that's music, and you get first you get 1 second to identify a song, and then if you need more you get 2 seconds, and then 4 seconds, all the way to I think it's like 32 seconds. And for that, I get it in 1 second, or I've never heard of it before. Like those are the extremes on there for me. So my win percentage on that one, probably not above 500, but and I should say it's still freely accessible online. There was a bit of a story this year when it was sold to the New York Times, and there was interesting discussions around that and access and everything. As I say, still available online. But if you're interested in the New York Times, that is a resource that you can access at EPL. So come in, sign on, read if you'd like, and yeah, check out some of the newspapers from around the world that EPL provides access to. Okay, so we've covered my daily puzzles. Bryce, what have you been enjoying for
Yeah, there's
games?
a couple of video games that I want to recommend. The first game we don't have in our collection, and this is kind of a beef I have right now with the video game industry. It's only available for download. Like it's available for download on like PC, Switch, Xbox, everything else. And that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. So this is actually a really cool game. It's like a new side scroll beat 'em up. And it's kind of very similar to, if you grew up in the 80s, 90s like I did, you may remember the original arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. So this is just kind of an update and new levels, new bad guys to fight, and there's like I think 20 levels. You can play online with people. You can play as get this, Caroline. You can play as April O'Neil. You
Nice.
use your microphone as a weapon. It's pretty cool. You can be Splinter, Casey Jones. So if you're a Ninja Turtles fan and kind of grew up watching them, I think you'll really love this game. Unfortunately, it's not in our collection because it's only available digitally. So like I said, this is a beef I do have with the video game industry right now is there seems to be this switch where a lot of these games maybe they don't release like a physical disc copy for whatever reason. I'm sure it's probably has to do with cost or something like that. Like it is a shorter game, so maybe they're like, maybe we can't justify having people pay $80 for this. But yeah, it's a little frustrating. But if you're able to, I highly recommend checking it out if you're Xbox Game Pass subscriber like I am, you can download it for free. So I will give a shout out to that game because it's my favorite of the year, but I don't like that it's not as accessible to everyone as most games are. But one game you can borrow from us that is in our collection that I've also really enjoyed, it would probably be my number 2 game so far this year. Caroline, have you seen, I'm sure you've seen them on the shelves, any of the Lego games that are available for different systems?
Yes.
Yeah. So these games are not only entertaining to play, and what's cool about them too is that really they're for all gaming levels, and the games themselves are hilarious. So we've got quite a few different Lego games in our system for properties like Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, but the Star Wars games are my absolute favorite. So there is a new Lego Star Wars game that just came out. And what's cool about it is you can relive all of the iconic moments from all 9 Star Wars all 9 Star Wars movies. So it's Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. There's lots of really kind of fun inside jokes with it. You can be various characters and build stuff in the game. So, even if you're not a big video game person, this is a game that pretty much anybody can kind of pick up and play, and you'll have a blast with it. So, and if you're waiting for that one to come in, borrow one of our several other Lego video games. They're all really good.
Nice. Now, I did want to ask, in the past on the show, you've talked about MLB The Show as a game, and now that we are in baseball season, I was wondering, like, do you play it during the season? Is it more of an off-season thing? Is it just too much baseball if it's like real life and video games? What's that like for you?
So I'm still playing MLB The Show. I would probably be number 3 on my list of video games so far this year. I actually enjoy playing it within the season because you can kind of follow the same schedule as your favorite MLB team. I was just talking to a friend about this the other night. What I find really cool in the game is, so if you're playing along in a season, during the season, there's certain days where teams will wear certain jerseys or different hats or whatever. So for example, I don't remember the exact date, but it's sometime in June, they have Jackie Robinson Day. So all major league teams, every single player wears number 42 as their number all day, like for all of the games. So if you're playing in a season on Jackie Robinson Day, all your players in the game are also wearing number 42. If you play a game on the 4th of July, all your teams are wearing kind of like the special 4th of July American hat for all the teams. So there's little things like that in the game, just little touches like that for baseball fans, they'll really appreciate. And it's those little it's that kind of attention to detail that sets it apart from a lot of other games. So it's really cool that way. But I do enjoy playing it within the season. Once fall hits, then it's on to the new NHL game for me. So definitely like to play it within season.
That's true. You got it. Everything has its time. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Well, I have a feeling that we might continue your comments about items being only available for download or streaming as we talk about some of the movies we've seen this year. We both love our movies. Anyone who's listened to a couple minutes of Overdue Finds would know that. What's your pick for the best movie of 2022 so far?
Yeah, so this is a movie I hinted at kind of in I don't remember which episode it was, but our guest Amanda Dirksen had brought up The Batman. Yep. And that movie is not my favorite, but I did hint at another movie when talking about that one, and that's The Northmen. So this movie just came out on DVD, and I highly recommend you put your name down for a hold. It will go quick. But if you're a fan of movies like Gladiator and Braveheart, you're absolutely going to love this one. So Alexander Skarsgård stars as a prince who is forced to kind of go into hiding as a young boy when his father is murdered. The film follows him as he slowly looks for the man who is responsible for his death and to rescue his mother from that same man. The action scenes in this movie are incredible. The movie was filmed in Iceland as well, so obviously we're dealing with kind of Vikings in this movie, and so we have some really cool outdoor visuals. The movie at times can get over the top violent, so if that's not your thing, you might not enjoy this one. But like I said, if you're into stuff like Gladiator, Braveheart, this movie is also kind of based, I believe, on like an old kind of Norse mythology tale. So I absolutely love this movie, and I'm not sure if anything else is going to top it, kind of until as we finish up 2022 here. But so far for me, this is the standard as far as movies go, and I've had a chance to watch some really good ones this year. Actually, just yesterday I saw Nope, which I loved. The new Elvis was absolutely fantastic, but for me, The Northmen is the movie of the year to beat so far. Caroline, have you had a chance to see it yet?
No. So that's going on my list. I think my list is definitely going to be, I think, a bit back and heavier for 2022. I just haven't yet worked going back to movie theaters into my routine. And so I know that there have been some great releases. It's great. I miss, I love going to a theater. I know some people are like, oh, well, why would you want to now that we have the technology for streaming and everything? But no, I love going to a theater. So I'm looking forward to doing that maybe a bit more. The Batman was on my list as well, less so because I really understood everything that was going on, more because I like the idea of taking a property that's as well known as Batman and trying new things with it, going different ways, and the way that people kind of came around on the casting of Robert Pattinson as a Batman. I think that in a lot of ways it really made sense. And as I've been revisiting a lot of older movies, which is, you had the note on here to try to keep it to 2022 titles, which was really helpful because, like, honestly, when I'm looking at like my movie list, most of the movies I've watched recently are from, like, I don't know, 1995, and just catching up on some of the older gaps in my movie history knowledge. So I've been doing that a lot. But yeah, the Batman. Then there were a bunch that were only so far available on streaming. I again, the idea of taking a property and playing with it creatively, that's what the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie was for me. Amazing voice actor work with Andy Samberg and John Mulaney, and this, this concept of like cartoons as actors and also real like crime solvers, just everything that went in to that, creating that world of the Chip and Dale world. I loved it, and just very funny, very smart. Um, Bob's Burgers finally came out, their movie, and it's too close probably to know if it's a good movie or not. I just liked seeing the characters and spending time with them. So having that experience finally come to fruition was. I mean, I'm just glad it's no longer on our what are we looking forward to next year list.
Pretty much. Yeah, the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie was, we've talked about this before, but it is so much better than it should have been. Like,
Yeah.
when you look at it on paper, you're just kind of like, this sounds ridiculous, but it is one of the best Hollywood spoofs I think I've ever seen. And yeah, it's almost like if you enjoyed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I got a lot of vibes in that. Like, it's like real crime kind of happening within this cartoon slash real life world. And yeah, if you are a Disney Plus subscriber and you haven't watched it, please go and watch it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I know Disney's still pretty good with like releasing a lot of their stuff on DVD, so hopefully we do have like a physical like media release of that, so everybody can watch that hopefully by the end of the year anyway. So Caroline, we both, in addition to movies, we love our TV. Like,
Yep.
we're really in another golden age of television. So, with all of the shows available, which show stood out for you so far this year?
I feel like this like part of the question should be with all the shows available, why are you still watching Forensic Files reruns? Because like really that's like again, I spend a lot of my time with TV, watching things that I've seen before. I think I've used that as a way to like decompress and not necessarily need to follow storylines as much. Even my pick for this, which is The Staircase, which the HBO series I talked about earlier, based on the documentary of a real life murder or suspicious death. It's a storyline that I'm very familiar with because I watched the original documentary, and that original documentary is available. I'll link to that in the item list. But the acting in this, Toni Collette is amazing. Colin Firth is just so good, and this story had me thinking about new elements of it, of kind of what who owns a story when you've agreed to do a documentary and put everything out there when it's in the public eye, just all these elements of the twistiness of real life and uh, portrayal, media portrayal, and fictional portrayal, and a fictional. Now I feel like I understand the death of Kathleen Peterson more having watched this fictional series, but is that fair or true or all of that? Just really interesting um, things to think about coming out of this. I really enjoyed The Staircase. And also, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard amazing things. I think we're going to be talking about it in a few weeks from now. But the sitcom Abbott Elementary, which is a network TV show, it's on ABC. And yeah, hear really good things about that. So that's on my to watch next list.
Yeah, that's also on my to watch next list too. Actually, both of those shows are, including The Staircase. Yeah, we will definitely be talking about that show here in future episodes of Overdue Finds. But yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like network shows and everything because like I've joked around before with friends and Cheryl and stuff like that with where it's like if a new show comes out and you see it's on like ABC or CBS, you're just like automatically right now just kind of like, oh God, like, if it's not like an HBO or AMC series, it's definitely very easy to dismiss those type of series anyway. But Caroline, I do want to mention, sorry, Forensic Files.
Yeah.
Cheryl still like she will watch like an episode or two like every night. She's seen them all. I've seen them all
Yeah.
kind of secondhand viewing as she's watching TV. So yeah, there is something not necessarily comforting about always watching Forensic Files, but shows that you're familiar with. And yeah, it's just good TV.
And Forensic Files, like I mean, I think I talked about this on the show in the past. I tried replacing it with Unsolved Mysteries. Wrong idea, because that is just
Oh, yeah.
unsettling from the music on down. And like you can't fall asleep to Unsolved Mysteries.
No,
That's
no.
yeah. But with Forensic Files, it's a tight half hour that where they've solved the case. And
Yes.
so there is something reassuring about that. And I mean, yeah, it sounds wrong to say I have my favorite ones, but there are some episodes where you're just like, wow,
Oh,
I did
yeah.
not think they were going to get the killer from a footprint on a tomato.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my pick, and it's funny, I just watched the latest episode last night. It's not in our collection yet because it's actually still airing. But my pick so far for the best TV of this year is the sixth and final season of Better Call Saul. This show so far has been absolutely incredible. I might go. It's funny, Caroline. I think we may have to do like a spin-off TV series episode of
Yeah.
Overdue Finds because, like, in my opinion, a lot of people might say Frasier, but I think Better Call Saul depending on how they stick the landing, that like the ending, that's going to be the most important thing here, because we right now only, I think, have 3 episodes left. But to me, this is shaping up to be the best spin-off series of all time, and this is one where even this show has been better than even the biggest Breaking Bad fans could have hoped for. So, I think like a lot of Breaking Bad fans, such as myself, when you hear, when you heard like 8 years ago or however many years it's been that they're doing a spin-off with Saul Goodman, the lawyer who was kind of funny in Breaking Bad, and you're kind of like, oh, that'll be kind of funny for 1 or 2 seasons and whatever. It's in the Breaking Bad universe. We'll see how it goes. Like, everybody's expectations, I think, were fairly low. And the first season is a little bit tough going, but once you get through that first season, this show has just been incredible. And really, you can actually get caught up on all 5 previous seasons of the show on DVD, which you can borrow from us. And yeah, like I said, we will be getting that last season as soon as it's available. If you're not familiar with the show follows lawyer Saul Goodman, played by Bob Odenkirk, as he works to build his practice as one of the top lawyers in Albuquerque. He makes a name for himself by representing some shady figures, and I don't want to give away too many more details to ruin anything, but if you've seen Breaking Bad, this series shows how we actually get to the events in Breaking Bad, and we're seeing kind of, hopefully here over the last 3 episodes, the fate of the character of Saul Goodman. So awesome supporting cast as well. Yeah, this, like, to me, this is like the only show on TV where I will watch it live as it happens. Like, to me, this is appointment TV.
To catch up to the end, I would need to start. I've never seen Better Call Saul, so I would need to start at the beginning and work my way through the 5, soon to be 6 seasons. I've also never seen Breaking Bad. Do I need to watch Breaking Bad before Better Call Saul?
No, you don't have to. Like, I think I think most people, even if you've never seen Breaking Bad, you're kind of familiar with the universe. You know who Walter White is or whatever.
Yeah.
There's little things in the show that you would kind of miss out on and maybe not enjoy as much as those of us who have, watched all of Breaking Bad, and you'd be like, oh, that's that character, or oh, he's there. Like, so yeah, it's you can enjoy it, but I don't like you would enjoy it, but I don't think quite on the same level. I would recommend watching Breaking Bad first and then going through the whole universe that way. But that's just me though. But you should definitely watch either of them.
Yeah, I also love this idea of spin-offs. Talking about that, because as you were talking, I was thinking, oh, is it better than Frasier that you mentioned? Is it better than Melrose Place? And trying to come up with like all of these spin-off. Is it? Yeah. And probably you would say yes.
Is it better than the Golden Palace, the Golden Girls spin-off? Yes.
Does it have Don Cheadle?
No, there's no Don Cheadle or Cheech Marin in this, unfortunately.
Yet. You don't know what's going to come
in
these last 3 episodes.
We don't know.
Yeah. Before we get to our roundtable questions, Bryce, can you let our listeners know what's coming up on our next episode, coming out on Friday, August 12th?
Batman and Robin, Romeo and Michelle, Bart and Milhouse. There's been some fantastic dynamic duos and best friends in pop culture. And on the next episode of Overdue Finds, we're going to be sharing our picks for some of our best friends and other EPLers picks. So yeah, we're going to be going through, we've got so many picks. They're still coming in from staff who've been giving us some great recommendations for some of their favorite best friends in pop culture. We're going to be going over those. We had one submitted, I think it was yesterday, and it was just kind of one of those ones. I think we probably easily have over 100 picks in there, but like when it was submitted, it was like, yeah, we missed that one.
Obviously. So yeah, it's good. I'm really looking forward to talking about it, because I think we talk, a lot of focus gets put on romantic relationships as well as family dynamics, but that really strong friendship element is at the heart of a lot of great stories, and I'm really looking forward to exploring some of those.
All right, so roundtable question time. Caroline, we've shared some great titles so far, but is there another title that hasn't come out yet that you think will make our list or your list of the best of 2022?
My answer nervously is Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel,
Mm.
because I loved Knives Out, the original movie. I'm incredibly apprehensive that revisiting it, even with a new cast, a new story, largely a new cast, Daniel Craig being the the through line of it. Um, I don't can it recapture or create a new kind of magic? I don't know. So that's my pick. So I don't know. It's either going to be like probably top or bottom. That's there's not much of an in between
Your
there.
biggest
And
disappointment of
yes,
2022.
yeah. And then another title that has come out, but I haven't seen it yet. I've heard amazing things about Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a movie that I really would love to check out. So holding out that as a possibility, maybe for my year-end list.
Yeah, I have seen that movie, and I'm kind of torn on it. I have to watch it again.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of stuff going on. It's definitely the most original movie of the year for sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
I've heard it. I have heard it though. You'll laugh at this, and I think this is true. It's been described as the live action Rick and Morty movie. You have to see it to get it, but let me know once you watch it because I will share maybe why that is. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good. Bryce, what are you looking forward to coming out?
So it's a new show on HBO. I've just watched the first episode and really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see where it goes, and it's HBO's The Rehearsal. Canadian comedian Nathan Fielder, who maybe most people remember from Nathan For You, and so basically the show is like documentary style. It shows him giving people a chance to rehearse for their own lives in a world where nothing ever works out as expected. So, for example, in the very first episode, we follow this guy and he's been lying to his trivia team about his education. So, he said that he has a master's. He does not have a master's. So, this has been eating away at him. So the episode kind of leads up where Nathan is walking him through rehearsing all these different scenarios where he has to share with his friend that he's been lying about his education. And it is, they recreate the pub where he's going to tell her and just everything. It's just very, you have to watch it to kind of understand it. But I'm curious to see where this show goes. And like I said, this one could be on that list anyway for best of 2022 for me.
I have so many questions. I'm feeling so many things just listening to you describe this. Okay? So are these scenarios? Are they are they real? Are they
Yeah,
scripted?
they're real scenarios, very similar to kind of Nathan For You,
Yeah.
where these, I don't know how they find these people, but like these people who have something that they need to tell, what they feel is to be very important, and they need to tell somebody in their lives,
And they need to
and
do it on television.
they got to do it on television. Yeah, of course, that's how you do things in 2022. They kind of, Nathan walks them through all the different scenarios of how the person might react. So when the time comes for them to tell them this important news, they're prepared for it. So whether or not they're accepting of it or they're going to freak out or whatever, be indifferent to it. Yeah, he walks them through all these different scenarios. And of course, if you're familiar with Nathan Fielder, it just gets super awkward with him. And I'm really enjoying. I really enjoyed the first episode. So like I said, I'm curious to see where this where this goes here for the next few episodes anyway. But it sounds like it's a different person in each episode though.
Okay, I think I'm gonna have to check this out. I'd been on the fence, I'd seen it, thought, oh, okay, but now hearing it, I think I need to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Caroline, let's take a look back 10 years ago to the year 2012. If Overdue Finds was around then, what one title would have made your list for the best of that year?
Bryce, funny that you just brought up Rick and Morty. The pick that I am going with was my Rick and Morty card on our best of the 2010s. I threw a wish in a well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. Call Me Maybe by Rae Jepsen. That song was a monster. It was everywhere.
It was the song of the summer in 2012, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, technically, yes, it came out in 2011, but it exploded in 2012. And that's the justification I would have used at the time. It's what I'm using today. Yeah. Plus, it's so catchy. I'm going to be singing it all day.
If we were creating an Overdue Finds soundtrack, Call Me Maybe would be on there.
It absolutely would. Yeah. I like this idea.
Yeah.
What other songs should we have on our Overdue Finds soundtrack? Let us know. Podcast at epl.ca. Bryce, 2012, 10 years ago. What are you putting on the list?
Yeah, I looked through various lists from that year, and the movie that stood out for me was Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. So, yeah, this is, of course, a controversial movie, but yeah, the performances by Jamie Foxx and, of course, Christoph Waltz as well. Christoph Waltz, of course, won another Oscar for being in his second Quentin Tarantino movie. So yeah, this, and Leonardo DiCaprio, who we now have a meme from this movie where he's kind of smiling and everything like that. So Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie, of course, just plays one of the most evil characters on film as a kind of a plantation owner. And yeah, this is peak Quentin Tarantino, and I think Will Smith famously passed on the role of Django, and of course Jamie Foxx was there to pick it up. But Jamie Foxx does an incredible job, and yeah, it's one of my favorite Tarantino movies for sure. So that would have been on my favorite movies list that year.
I could totally see, if we were doing the podcast at the time, that around kind of the time of the release or leading up to it, that would have been leveraged into a Tarantino episode. I could have seen that happening.
Definitely. Yeah. So when Tarantino comes out with his 10th movie, which apparently is going to be his final movie, that'll be our Quentin Tarantino episode for sure.
We hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Make sure that you subscribe to the show so that you get all of our new episodes. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and more importantly, tell a friend about the show. Make it your mid-year resolution.
Good call. We should have made some mid-year resolutions. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do it a lot of people. I think a lot of people with back to school, September, setting a new leaf, turning over a new page, all of that. So get a jump start on it with maybe a mid-year resolution.
So don't forget that we'll have a link to everything that we talked about in today's show notes. And as always, we absolutely love to hear from our listeners. So you can reach us on Twitter at epl.ca, or you could email us at podcast@epl.ca. Don't forget, you can share your thoughts with us about the show on Twitter by using the hashtag EPL Overdue Finds. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.